Fucking yes, mate. 'Cause we stay all late. And I'm wide awake. I'm not coming home tonight. So the next time when I'm on the line, I'll let you this know. I'm not coming home tonight. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pass Interference Podcast. I am your host, as always, Max Whirling. How is everybody doing after this shocker-filled Week 10 that we just had? It was a crazy, wild week. We did shitty in the predictions, which we will talk about later in this podcast, because, we all did terrible. But that was because we will talk about some of these games that happened in terms of the crazy bullshit that occurred. But we will start by, of course, introducing the co-hosts of this lovely podcast, the ones, the onlys. First off, to my imaginary right, it is the bearded one, the chosen one, the NASCAR legend himself, who probably shouldn't race on a track and, might die and whatever, yada, 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 is Johan! Jonathan Nichols, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man. We're not going to talk about NASCAR because, fuck the season. But anyways, I'm doing pretty good. It was a good week. We all had terrible picks, but, I think most of the analysts that get paid a lot, they're usually pretty bad on weekly picks. Maybe we're on to something. I don't know.
I think we're still better than them. So.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
But still, pay us.
Yeah, pay us the money. Support our non-existent Patreon, where you get to see lewds of John.
Here comes the money.
And of course, always joining me to my left, it is the one who was stuck in a frozen tundra, but not the one in Green Bay, because fuck Green Bay. But a one where I don't know. Did you actually witness it? It's Bronson Pompilio, by the way. Did you actually witness that fucking plane crash?
No, I did not witness that.
Okay, because that was some scary ass shit.
Yeah, man. 7 inches of snow in Chicago, I guess ain't no joke.
No, it ain't. So what happened? You arrived at the airport and was already heavy snow, and then they just were like,
It happened, that morning. It snowed overnight and into the morning, and then went all day. So then it was delay, and it was all contingent on my plane from Toronto making it to Chicago, and Toronto was also getting said snowstorm. So then finally it got canceled, and then it was a fucking race against everyone else trying to get on flights to Baltimore. So there was 4 seats left on a 7 a.m. flight out of Chicago, because I had to be at work Monday, didn't get to go to work Monday, and then had to be at work on Tuesday. So I got a 7 a.m. flight, and then that got delayed another 5 times. And then finally got on the plane, landed at 1:30-ish actually. Ubered home because Emma had to go straight to work, so her car went with her, and then I Ubered home, spent $50 on an Uber, got home, fed the cats, jumped in the work clothes, and then went to work.
That's right, because he's got that workflow mentality, man. You can't fuck with Bronson when it comes to that shit. But also,
nope, you ain't gonna fuck with that.
That fucking sucks, and that's one of the things
Dude,
I hate about living up north.
I have the worst luck. I
have
the worst luck. Same shit happened to me when I was going to Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Jesus. Well, at least you're safe. That's some scary shit.
Yeah, at least that you weren't on that plane that fucking was hey, I know we took off and everything, and there's totally snow on the ground, but we're gonna try to land this shit. No.
I wonder if they were. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they were low on fuel, because I can't believe they landed that.
Lawsuit. I'd be like, ow, my testes.
My testes.
So, but no, yeah, I you have shitty luck on airplanes, man. Like, straight up. Like, I think you should just be road tripping from now on. Like, I know it's like a longer trip and all, but just as safety precautions, I think you should be, driving everywhere.
Seriously, dude.
Yeah, that shit sucks. So, and that's part of the reason why, like, I kind of enjoy living in Florida is because other than the threat of a possible hurricane, which, like, everybody knows in advance, well in advance of, like, a week or so before it actually hits, so you can pretty much arrange your flights however you want to. But outside of that, there's no reason why, like, a plane should ever get delayed 100 times and then canceled, unless of course you're going to a place where like Chicago, where it was snowing crazy or whatever. So, and I knew, I had a feeling that you were gonna get some snow because I was watching the Green Bay game that was in Green Bay, and while I was watching it, I was like, oh look, it's raining. Oh no, that's not rain, that's snow. Oh, that's coming down heavy. Oh shit.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, it was not ideal.
no, but I'm glad you're safe. That's all that matters. Glad you and Emma are safe, and yeah, we will talk more on shitty airplane trips later on. I want to come and party with you guys for the Super Bowl because, like, we need a party for the Super Bowl and get really drunk and drink lots of booze again. But also, I don't think we've really partied for a Super Bowl. Like, I think every time, like, a Super Bowl's been around, one of us hasn't been around. So, we need to change that. Maybe.
I mean, I definitely want to.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll talk about it later.
Yes.
I'm always a schemer and a dreamer, so we'll talk about that later. We'll get some side hustle going on that. But we're here to talk about the Week 10 games. We're here to make some Week 11 predictions. Talk about some news and stuff like that I found interesting. I'll talk to you guys a little bit in just a second. But starting off with Week 10, Bronson, we'll start off with the game that obviously you were at live and in charge. And it was the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions in Chicago, of course. You were Snapchatting up a storm. You were sending us pictures, everything like that. So, how was the game? How did you feel the vibe? Like, what were your thoughts on everything?
I mean, we started slow as always. And then all of a sudden, I guess into like the end of the first quarter, I think it was midway through the second quarter, if I remember correctly. I almost died, by the way, that morning. Oh my God.
Why?
Well, I was at a tailgate, and great tailgate, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, we're just getting there, it's early as hell. I'm pretty sure I sent you guys a snap of where I was in the tailgate. And they do like a whole fucking spread. So like crazy, like lobster, we had clams, ribs, steak, pork chops, lamb chops, so much food, right? So like I get there, I get there, and the first thing I eat is like bacon wrapped shrimp with jalapenos wrapped around it. So I start eating that, and then I start eating a couple clams. And then they're like, here, have this piece of skirt steak. It's like a marinated steak. And I was like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah, give me that. So, like, I was, like, holding, I forget what it was, but I was doing something I had something in my hands, and I was trying to do something, and they were just, like, throwing food at me. So, like, I'm, like, wearing gloves, too, so, like, my fingers are, like, awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, so, like, I tried to rip the piece in half. It just wasn't working because the meat was a little fatty. And so like I chewed it a few times, swallowed, and then it like got like 80% of the way down, and then just got stuck.
Oh shit!
I could still breathe. Like I wasn't like gasping for air or choking. I was like definitely like short-winded, like, and like so I'm like smacking my chest. I got like Emma smacking my chest, like. So this goes on for like 40 minutes of me trying to get this fucking piece of meat down. Like I tried like drinking some of my beer to like get it down, but the beer was just sitting on top of the steak. So it was like in my like esophagus, just sitting there.
That's not
And
good.
so like I'm like taking like I'm smoking a cigarette, like trying to swallow air to kind of like get it to go down. Um, I'm like burping, and then like I go to burp, and like beer foam just comes out of my mouth. It wasn't like I threw up, but like it was like the weirdest thing. But like I looked like a beer can that just got like shook up and like just squirt out a bunch of fucking foam. So I just like I can't say the word vomit because I didn't like do the act of vomiting, but I projectile vomited like beer foam,
Right.
and I'm like, oh man, like I can still talk and everything, and I'm like, at this point, like my family's like still trying to like pummel me with food, and I was like, yo, like I'm kind of like struggling here. Um, Stop trying to give me food. They're like, are you good? I'm like, not really. But I'm working on it. Like I would like jump on a curb, jump off the curb. Like I was trying to do all these different things to kind of like shake the food loose. And my aunt was like, drink water, like drink water. I'm like, I would love to drink water, but I feel like I'm scared if I put anything in my body right now, like I'm in like serious, like I'll be in like serious trouble.
Right.
And eventually like 40 minutes go by and I'm like, fuck this, like I want to eat some fucking food, I want to drink beer, like oh, like this cannot be happening to me. So like I'm like, fuck it. So I like take a bottle of water and I walk away just in case like I like projectile fucking water everywhere. And like I like just chugged the whole bottle of water, like didn't even like hesitate, like I just was like, fuck it, if I die I die.
Oh my god.
So like I chugged the whole bottle of water, and then like I could literally feel the piece of steak just go boop right into my stomach. It was like the weirdest fucking thing. Like I could feel it like release and then like hit. Like it was like and then like all of a sudden I was like you know, like it almost like felt like you were drowning and then you finally caught like a breath of, you know, air. And that's exactly what happened. I was just like, oh, like thank God. Like, and then it was like, and then I started pounding beers and eating food the rest of the day before the game.
Dude,
Dang.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
man.
but yeah, it was like a good 40 minutes, and like all my uncle is doing like the entire time, like I can't breathe like fully, right? And he's
Uh
just making fun of me. He's like, you fucking pansy, you pussy. He's like, you know, he's just like calling me all sorts of names. He's like, you want me to pet? You want me to go get my daughter and tell her you can't fucking go to the game anymore? Like, and tell her to Uber over here and send your ass home. I'm like, no, John. Like, it got to the point I was like, John, if you keep talking to me, I'm gonna hit you in the nuts. Like, I'm just gonna do it.
Oh my god, that
But anyway,
sounds
the game was
harrowing.
fun. Game was exciting. It was great being an adult in Soldier Field. I haven't been there since I was probably like a kid. Um, I was in a bathroom taking a piss. This is a great little story. And all of a sudden, like there's like a line right behind all the urinals because people are waiting to piss because it's a Bears game and there's so many fucking people, dude. I have never seen lines at bathrooms at football games like I did this one. It was just insane. But anyway, so there's like a line of people directly behind me,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, maybe like a good foot and a half, 2 feet behind me. All of a sudden, I start hearing like yelling and arguing, and like then I hear like other people chirping in, and then boom, there's a fucking brawl like directly behind me. And I'm just like, oh my God,
Jesus.
Bronson, just piss, just fucking piss. And like all I hear is like, you fucking pussy, you motherfucker. And then you hear other people like, knock it off. And then like I turn around and it's just like 2 or 3 Bears fans beating the piss out of like a drunk Lions fan.
Oh my
And I was just like, oh my Lord. So then I get back to my seat. I'm sitting at my seat. And then all of a sudden, it's like at this point, the Bears are up like 20-7 or whatever, 20-6, I think it's 20-6.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like well into the third quarter, you know, it's garbage time is ensuing. All I hear behind me is this fat fucking drunk Lions fan because like he was like sitting like on the part where like all the beer stands are. The way Soldier Field is set up is very hard to explain, but it's almost like Coliseum. So you have like tiers essentially.
Right.
And so like one of the tiers was directly behind my seat, which it was like he was like the tier is probably like 2 or 3 rows behind me. And all it is this fucking drunk Lions fans like, "Here comes the pain." He just kept yelling it like over and over again. He's like, "You guys are fake fans. You're all a bunch of fake fans."
What the fuck is he like Brock Lesnar and Hulk Hogan like rolled into one?
I don't know what it was, dude. And I'm trying not to like. I'm like laughing, but I didn't want to look at him and laugh because like I was terrified to like see this dude's face. Eventually, I ended up looking at him, and he just looked like he just was too far gone. He was with a bunch of his friends who were also Bears fans, and they were like, "Fuck him, just let him do whatever the hell he wants." Because this was the drive where Driscoll was driving on us.
Yeah.
When he scored that, like, I'm not gonna even lie, beautiful touchdown.
Mhm.
That arcing rainbow that he threw into the end zone. So they're driving, and that's all he's doing is yelling like, "Here comes the pain!" And then Driscoll and he's like, "You guys are fake fans. Look at you. You're not cheering. You're quiet." And I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, we're all quiet because we're nervous as fuck right now. and he's just like, "Fake fans." And then all of a sudden, like, Driscoll throws the touchdown, and I was just like, oh my God. And then there was a delay from the time the touchdown happened to his reaction because this is how fucking hammered he was. And then also he's like, "Wow! Here comes the pain. This is it for you, Bears fans. It's over." And then I what it was, but like the defense like picked off Driscoll. I forget what it was, but something happened. And then my Uncle John turns around. He's like, "Yeah, where's the fucking pain now, man?" Like just yelling at him, like egging him up. He's like, "Come on." And my Aunt Sean was like, "John, like, shut up. Like, don't, he's got friends with him. Like, just leave him alone." And John would like kept going. My Uncle John just would not let him, like, he's like your typical Chicagoan. And all he did was just yell at him. And then like other Chicago Bears fans would like turn around like, "Fuck you!" Like everyone was like yelling at him. And I was just like, I'm in Chicago right now. And then when Bears like sealed the victory, dude, like you should have seen his face. It was so hysterical.
Like he seriously was like, yeah, he seriously was like one step away from going.
I wanted to be like, "Bro, you're a Lions fan. Like,
yeah, you haven't brought a pain since the 1940s.
Getting that pain."
Yeah, like honestly, like he was one step away from being the Family Guy. "You're a phony. You're all big fat phonies. You phonies."
The only pain is having talent like Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders on the team, like the Lions.
Never winning a fucking Super Bowl. Like, you have to literally probably one of the greatest running backs of all time. At least the greatest, like, all time. Like,
I'd argue if he played longer, he probably would have surpassed Walter.
Oh yeah, easily. And that's the thing. Like Barry Sanders, because when Barry Sanders first played, he also was a kick returner, and he was like a damn good kick and punt returner. So like, I would say Barry Sanders is probably like the greatest like all time like all around team player or whatever, in terms of like just like special teams and offense. Obviously, defense, he never did, but offense and special teams, yeah, he was great. But like, you also had a generational talent in Calvin Johnson, who is debatable whether he's going to make the Hall of Fame or not. I think he doesn't. He should. I don't think he gets in first try because we've seen great wide receivers not get in the first time. But I
think he will, man. I think he will just because of his single season record breaking season.
Well, and he was just so dominant. Like you literally could match up 3 guys against him, and he would still dominate that game. Like, you had the game plan just specifically for him. You're the Lions. Like, you had those talents, and you didn't do jack shit.
And they had Stafford.
And they had Stafford. It's just, the Lions are just garbage. They're also
coaching and
they're also the first team that went 0-16 in the season. Lest we forget about that, just like, You want to talk about pain? That's pain right there. Like,
Here
I
comes
know.
the pain.
Yeah, here comes the pain. Like he's
And
like
he's
he was
crying.
touched as a
Aw.
little boy. Yeah, like he was touched as a little boy. We're like, here comes the pain. No,
Yeah.
Uncle Jim, no. Like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, so it was hard to ignore him because he just would not shut the fuck up. But it was very like, dude, and like, not gonna lie, I'll be completely honest. At a certain point, I was like, God, if the fucking Lions win right now, like when Driscoll scored that touchdown, I was like, oh motherfucker, and because the defense was already gassed at this point, I'm like, oh, this is gonna happen. Like I was like losing faith, like. And like the dude was just in my ear, and I'm just sitting there being quiet, like, oh, please God, please
Right.
God.
I will
Please.
say this too. Jeff Driscoll, he'll never be a starter in the league. Like he'll never be a number one starter. But as a spot starter, I'm surprised he's not.
Well, it's not fair too that the Bears didn't have a chance to fucking game plan against him. They had zero.
Yeah, that
fucking
was
time.
Yeah, that was
And
till,
now
like,
the
right before the
NFL's
game started,
investigating
right?
him. Yeah, dude. I mean, the
That's
night before they're like, "Oh, he's questionable,"
Matt
but
Patricia for you,
and
though.
then like but now
Calm.
they're in serious trouble right now
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I mean, it wasn't like he had like a strained quad or anything. He's got
Yeah.
broken bones in multiple
In
parts
his
of his
back.
body.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in his like foot and
It's,
ribs
like,
or some shit.
serious.
Yeah, his back, his foot, he is fucked up, and it's like you're
But he
not
was
gonna
like, you
disclose
could
that.
argue he was like having an MVP season too, which is insane to me. Which just
Yeah.
makes him that much greater in my fucking eyes, dude. If trades within divisions were more frequent, I would beg for Matthew Stafford. Beg.
Yeah,
He's like I would argue,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
crazy to say this, is like he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. You never hear anything out of him. He plays for the fucking Lions.
Mhm.
Like he plays for the fucking Lions.
right. You never hear any off the field issues with him. In fact,
No
like
one
the only
ever
off,
talks about, like Bronson
yeah,
says,
yeah, and like the only off the field stuff you heard about him this past
His wife.
offseason was his wife having cancer. And like him being a loving, supporting husband, and was like, I'm gonna take some time away from the team so I can be with my wife. Like, that's a guy I want on my fucking team. That's a guy I want to be my quarterback. Like, yeah, give me that guy right there. Because that guy right there is fucking humble as shit, and he fucking just, I'm sure he loves being in the NFL every single goddamn day that he can play. And that's a guy I want on my team.
Yeah, no fucking kidding, man. Texas boys. Texas boys.
Either
Man,
way,
it's-
yeah, we'll move on from that game, and I'm glad you were able
I
to
told you, man,
experience it.
I'm a good luck charm. I don't know what it is.
Man, then we just need to buy you season tickets to the Bears games. You know,
I think over the last 3 years, 4 years maybe, I'm like 7-1 in like wins to losses.
nice.
I know.
Yeah.
Hell, man, I went to a game and watched Mitch Trubisky complete 7 passes against the Ravens and win.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to remind me about that game.
Oh, but he
Oh,
will.
boy.
Oh, he will.
Oh, boy.
So
That season. That
George
season was
Howard's
awful.
43 carries.
Holy Jesus, yeah.
Good
That was-
shit.
Oof.
All right. So moving on, the next game that I'm sure John wants to talk about just a little bit, just because of I know it was against the Bengals. The Bengals are just god awful and like are the worst team in the NFL, which I predicted. But
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
yeah. But John, Lamar Jackson, like. A lot of people will say he's the MVP candidate. I think the guy we're going to talk about later in this podcast, for the Monday night game, I think he's got a leg up still just because of what he did on.
Yeah.
But big moment player Lamar Jackson, like, what's your take?
Yeah, man. I mean, the one thing that I didn't expect you guys to watch the video breakdown. I like watching those. I watch his breakdowns and other players too. But the one thing that's fun to watch is, I mean, obviously it's against the worst team in the NFL, but you like seeing your second year quarterback perform like this. This is how they're supposed to play. against a team.
Shut up, John.
What? Hey. But no. No, I mean, this is how you're supposed to play it. If you're going to be one of the top contending teams in the AFC, then yeah, you're supposed to go out and blow out, the worst team in the NFL. But Lamar was showing a lot of plays where, like, he knew he had Nick Boyle wide open in the middle, but he was still surveying to the left just to kind of shake some of the defenders off, and then he would just turn back to the right and just throw a dart. And then the touchdown to Hollywood, I mean, for as long as if Hollywood could stay healthy, I mean, that connection's looking really fun. I mean, Lamar took a huge hit, but he still delivered, an incredibly accurate ball in the end zone. The run, I mean, that's just, an amazing highlight reel. I mean, that happened, and I was screaming, of course, and it was fun to watch. They have a big game coming up this week, and it's at home. So I expect the crowd to be really loud, and it's going to be really fun game to watch. The defense is also playing really great. I mean, Michael Pierce is hurt. They brought in a couple other guys off the street, but I mean, the secondary is playing really great right now.
Yeah, like Marcus Peters. I mean, he's outperforming Ramsey in every statistical category.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are arguing, well, Ramsey has to shout out the ones. Well, I mean, Marcus Peters, I mean, you really put him anywhere. I mean, if Humphrey's for some reason having, a down game, I mean, you're not going to put Humphrey against the number 2 guy the way he's playing. But, I mean, that's the way you want him to play. And you have Jimmy Smith, who's healthy again. They're moving Brandon Carr around. But, I mean, they just have so much depth right there, even after losing Jefferson. I mean, Chuck Clark is playing really great, filling in for him. And, Earl's being Earl. So, I mean, I'm loving it. I mean, they've done an amazing job transforming this defense when it started out, like, really bad. Like, I mean, they started really bad, and they just transformed this defense, brought in guys off the street who are playing great. And, I mean, I couldn't ask for really anything better, honestly.
And what I will give credit where credit's due, too. We talked about last year how we were thinking that maybe Harbaugh was not the right coach for this, but you have to give where credit's due in the fact that Harbaugh not only took a quarterback who a lot of people are unsure of what they wanted to do with, but he revitalized and touched up his game plan, figured out what his strengths were, and just he's God. I'm just so amazed by his coaching.
Roman too. Yeah, I mean, he did a good job holding on to Greg Roman. I mean, it's almost like they were kind of eyeing him. I mean, they had Greg Roman as an assistant last year, or actually 2 years ago, before they even drafted Lamar Jackson. And it's like, it was almost like they was leading up to it. And I mean, that's why the entire draft, I mean, we talked about it at the time. I mean, I was yelling at the TV the whole time because I wanted, the Ravens to draft Lamar Jackson. I mean, I'm thanking Eagles fans right and left for trading that draft pick. But I mean, Greg Roman's the perfect offensive coordinator. John Harbaugh, I still love him as a head coach, and Lamar is turning into a great leader, and a lot of guys are rallying behind him too, and they love him.
Yeah, and like I said, it's amazing to see how we were, again, just last year we were talking about, Harbaugh's gone after this season. Yeah. He's not going to last. The Ravens need a new culture, blah blah blah. And then he puts in Lamar Jackson and kind of just reinvents himself, reinvents the coaching aspect, everything like that. It was good to see in that highlight video where he was like, yeah, I love the way you play. And like Lamar Jackson was like, I love you too, man. And he goes, well, I mean, I love you, but like also,
Yeah.
And just, it's a great thing to see. And I like seeing stuff like that. And good on John Harbaugh for doing that. So, moving right along.
I want to say one thing real quick. Yeah. I want to ask 2 questions. John, do you want Lamar? Let me ask my 2 questions. Do you want Lamar to be the MVP? 2, do you see now? I already made my amends about the whole Lamar thing, but this is a genuine question. Do you see longevity in Lamar if the offense continues to run this way?
One, I don't want him to win MVP just yet, even though he is having that, he's up there in the conversation, of course. I mean, right now, as long as Russell Wilson stays healthy and he's playing the way he's playing, this one's easily his, in my opinion. But two, as long the one thing I'd like is that he's developing pretty quickly as a passer. So I'm hoping what what may I've talked to a few people about this. I'm like I'm hoping like early on the season, when you're pretty fresh, and early in the season you could run. But later in the season, you're banged up. It's the weather is getting cold, so injuries are more prone. And I'm hoping later in the season he's just going to start throwing the ball more because I mean it's interesting when he throws the ball a lot. Like, he didn't throw the ball a lot this game, but I mean perfect passer rating. But he only rushed the ball 7 times. But other games he'll rush the ball 15 to 20 times, and I hope they kind of reel back on that. I mean, you got Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. You got guys that can run the ball. Now they're throwing in packages where he's pitching into RG3 for God's sake. So I'm hoping, if the passing play's not there, of course, scramble, and he's doing a better job, like getting down and getting out of bounds. But there's still always a worry someone's going to take a cheap shot.
Right. But my question is, in let's say the next 2 to 3 years, let's say you argue next
Okay.
season, do you want to see Lamar running the ball 15 times?
No. I want to see the cap more around like 10 max, especially because I mean he's still 22, but running this way, especially
I mean,
as a
he's
running,
not,
like
and he's not a big dude either.
No, he's 6'2", 212. So I mean, he's not. It's not like he's like Cam Newton, and we've seen the toll that it's taken on Captain.
But when you run that way, I mean, you see it all the time, especially with running backs. I mean, the longevity of a running back's like 5 years.
What I want to see out of Lamar Jackson in the next couple of years is essentially the same guy he's fighting for the MVP race, which is Russell Wilson. Where Russell Wilson can run the ball. Doesn't mean he will, but he knows how to stay in the pocket, stay cool, and if he sees the opportunity to run, he takes it. And that's what I want to see out of Lamar Jackson. It's just like, all right, let me see what I can do to pass. If not, let me take the easy few yards and let me make sure I get down. And he's done a great job of that this year, of making sure he doesn't take big hits. So
last year he was taking huge hits. I mean, this year he's at least being smarter about the hits he's taking, like getting down sooner and that.
Right, and what's impressive too about his progression as a passer was last year 58.2% completion percentage. This year 65.9%. A touchdown percentage of 5.9% compared to 3.5% last year. Interception rate's gone up a little bit, but that's because he's thrown over 80 more passes with over 800 yards more in almost the same amount of time. And his yards per attempt was 7.1 last year. It's now 8, which is a great indicator that he is getting the ball. They're throwing the ball deep, and that he's coming a long way as a passer. So
yeah, and some of the passes, I mean, he's just threading the ball sometimes in between defenders with a lot of zip on the ball too. I mean, that's what I'm really impressed with. I'm like most big tight ends like Mark Andrews, they want the ball like up high, I'm sure, and he's just zipping it like 20 plus yards down the field with just a flick of the wrist, and then it's hitting them right up there, like where he wants it. That way he can keep running with it.
Right. So.
And that's what you want to see. I mean, I can't say more. I mean, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to jinx it. I'm just enjoying it. I mean, it's the most fun I've had really almost ever watching the offense play. As a Ravens fan, I mean, it's exciting every time the offense is out on the field because you don't know what's coming next, and it's so fun to watch.
Right, exactly. So, and I mean, I know you said you're thankful that the Eagles made the trade, and I'm sure you are. But the Eagles didn't really do so bad for themselves. Whereas, they with those picks, they end up picking up Avonte Maddox, who has been a solid cornerback for them, Miles Sanders, and Dallas Goedert. So, I mean,
it's worked out for everyone, I'd say. They got, that pick was from the Super Bowl, so they were still celebrating that, and they got great young players out of it, so cool.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on really quick. Gonna touch on some other quick games right here. Kansas City, in my opinion, got robbed off a last-second field goal where they were clearly offsides, the Titans were, and obviously you can't look back and do that, but I think they were robbed. Also, they called a weird, intentional grounding penalty and really fucked Kansas City up. So, let's see here. Atlanta, it's great to see them get another win because this team is
That was their
definitely.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, and I think, listen, I know everybody wants to move on from Dan Quinn. He probably should go. Maybe the voice message isn't there, but there's 7 games left. They're 2-7. It wouldn't surprise me if somehow Atlanta went 8-8 on the year. It honestly would not surprise me with how talented the team is and how deep their roster should be. It would not surprise me if they went 8-8 on the year. So I still don't think that saves Dan Quinn's job. I still think he's let go in the offseason, but I think if they can go 8-8, that makes that job a lot more attractive for a lot of people. And I gotta give credit where credit's due. Brian Flores, I think, is the right choice for this Miami team. The fact that they've been in, they got blown out in the beginning of the year and everybody wanted out, yada, yada, yada. But the fact that they've been in these games and have won the last 2 and they've been in 3 out of the last 4, I think, or at least the last 3, the Redskins game, the win against the Jets, and obviously the win against the Indianapolis Colts, I think is a testament to how good of a coach Brian Flores is and how well he's game planning for these teams. And with the little talent that he has, quite frankly, I think that they're screwing up their chances at getting the best quarterback in the draft, which is now, in my opinion, Joe Burrow out of LSU, which is weird thing to say that an LSU quarterback is the best quarterback in the draft class. But
I'm not buying it. All right, but secondly, I'm texting Joe right now, and I told him what you just said about the Falcons, and he said, "Tell Max to shut the fuck up and not wish that evil on me."
Well, no, I think they should. Like if they were. I know tanking in the NFL.
No, he wants that draft.
Yeah,
he wants
exactly.
Young so bad.
Yeah, I think you have to be. I think you have to be in the number 2 slot in order to get Chase Young, and I just don't think that you pass up the Redskins, if not at the very least the Giants. I think those are the 2 teams you have to pass, and I think the Redskins, I don't think are winning.
I think they could pass the Giants. I think the Giants are going to win some games.
Yeah, but I think they win like 1, maybe 2 more games, but the Redskins aren't winning another game this year. Maybe 1. They might win 1 extra game, but I think the Redskins are firmly entrenched at the number 2 spot. So, and I'll talk about something that's interesting later in terms of the Redskins. So, finally, probably one of the best Monday night games that we've had this year.
Probably is the best.
Probably is the best. We had the Seattle Seahawks at San Francisco to play against the San Francisco 49ers, undefeated going into the game, and what a wild roller coaster of emotions this game was. I mean, you had everything. You had Russell Wilson bringing his team back. You had Jimmy Garoppolo having to come through some adversity with a lot of his wide receivers dropping everything that were, I mean, just in the last few drives, just in the last 5 drives, I think I counted 4 or 5 drops, and they weren't even like hard misses either. Like they were on the dot, right on the hands, and they just dropped it. And I think that's going to be a big thing, especially with Emmanuel Sanders if he's going to be out for a little bit. I think that's going to be a big issue for San Francisco going forward, because if they don't have George Kittle and if they don't have a reliable target, Emmanuel Sanders, they're kind of fucked. And I think like I say, you can't really put the blame on Garoppolo too much in that game. Now there was a couple misses, there was a bad interception, yada yada yada. But again, you put the whole picture in there. They're still without Mike McGlinchey on the right side. They had Joe Staley for a quarter and a half before he went out with an injury. So they're still without their 2 best tackles, and they're still fighting in games. So I think this is a well-crafted team in San Francisco. But holy shit, Russell Wilson.
You know what's crazy is the last time, here's a fun little stat. I don't know if you guys saw it, the graphic pop up when you were watching the game, but teams that have gone 8-0, I think over the last 15 years, I think it was, or 12 years, some absurd number, only 2 of them have gone to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what's so amazing about the NFL is the fact that any game, it literally, like somebody said about this Dolphins on Twitter, it's literally any given Sunday, and that rings true for any season, any game, any whatever you want to call it, especially in the playoffs. You got one game in the playoffs, and you have to be on your best in the playoffs, and you have to be on your best behavior, on your best game for one game at a time. And that's why I talked about last week or whatever about the Chiefs and about Frank Clark. As long as the Chiefs make the playoffs and they can do something in the playoffs, and this goes for any team, as long as the team makes the playoff, does it really matter if a player gets 25 sacks or if a quarterback throws for 60 touchdowns or anything like that? As long as you make the playoffs, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, Joe Flacco.
Yeah. Exactly. Joe Flacco is a great indication that anything can happen in the playoffs. Trent Dilfer for the Buccaneers was a great indication that anything can happen in the playoffs. Nick Foles is a great indication. We constantly.
Here's another little crazy stat for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last 13 years, if you don't get the first round bye, you don't go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Only two teams have done it over the last 13 years. The Eagles didn't do it when they went. I'm pretty sure it was the Giants the last two times that it happened.
Yeah, I mean it's insane, but it's that's why that first round bye is so important, honestly, because if you don't have that first round bye, when you get that first round bye, you have another week for your guys to get healthy. You have another week to game plan. You have another week to, and you play one less game. You're that much closer to the Super Bowl. So, but I really like this game. I feel bad for Chase McLaughlin, but I had a feeling he was gonna miss it. You know when you're watching games and you just have that feeling, you just know. Bronson, I hear you chuckling in the background. Why are you chuckling?
Because I'm thinking about fucking Cody Parkey.
But right, you have that feeling of he's gonna fucking miss this. And I saw him. I mean, his form looked good when he was practicing. He looked calm, but I'm sure on the inside he's like, oh shit, this is to win a game. I'm gonna fucking miss this. I'm sure that's what happened, especially that last time out. I think that's why it's more important to call a timeout before a kicker kicks it, not as he's kicking it or right before the snap or anything like that.
He gets good read on the ball, yeah.
Right, because then exactly, he gets good read on the ball. He gets good read on the wind. It's better just to timeout so that way he has that extra 30 seconds to think about oh shit, and give credit where credit's due to Pete Carroll for calling that timeout because
that kick afterwards, whew.
Yeah, I mean
the snap and the hold was great. I mean that the laces were out, so
laces out.
I'm I can't remember that one game last week where the laces were in. That's what I saw instantly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think that it was. Give credit where credit's due. Now Seattle's going to have to fight some adversity because Tyler Lockett is apparently out with some really bad injury.
Well, this is why they got fucking
Josh Gordon. Yeah.
Yep.
So
and they still got DK and they still got a pretty damn deep bench. They got Jerron Brown. They got names over there. They got peeps.
Yeah, exactly.
Carson's pretty decent in the passing game too.
Exactly. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have a bye week. I wouldn't be surprised if they sit out Tyler Lockett for at least a couple weeks. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and get at least one more addition in the free agency, just as a booster. No, not that person. We refuse to talk.
It can't be because isn't he going to be on the commissioner's exempt list?
Who the fuck cares, man? Fuck that.
I mean, asshole. I don't care. Yeah, I'm not gonna say his name.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck that asshole. He's a piece of shit.
He's free like he wanted.
What's that?
I say he has his freedom like he wanted.
It's just I'm gonna get angry again. I don't want to get angry again. So, But yeah, I think they could go, pick up a nice wide receiver as a nice little addition. You know what I'd love to see, and just like as a haha moment or whatever, because I think he's been released. Let me see if he's still on the team. 1 second.
Wait, couldn't they? Isn't Des Bryant available?
He is. I don't think he's the... Nope. This guy is not on a team. I would love to see, as like a joke, Michael Crabtree sign with the Seahawks to play against the 49ers.
The 49ers.
And
against
for him...
Richard Sherman?
Yeah. Just as like a weird, like...
Reverse.
Wait. Hold up now? What do we do now? So, that's what I'd like to see. So,
roles reverse. That would be hilarious.
Exactly. But anybody else have anything to add for the best Monday Night Football game?
No, sir.
All right. So the one thing I wanted to talk about that I heard, and this makes all the sense in the world, and what that is basically, as we all know, Dwayne Haskins is been officially listed as the starter of the Washington Redskins for the rest of the year. I was listening to another podcast. I was listening to the Stick to Football podcast. I was listening to Matt Miller, and he brought up an excellent point why they did this. One, obviously, because, they feel like he's ready and they feel like he's focused and everything like that. But two, and I think this is important here, you got to see what you got out of Dwayne Haskins. And I know we went crazy. I know I went crazy at the draft because I still think that he was the best quarterback in that draft class. I still think he's better than Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones obviously has shown that he was more ready as a player than Dwayne Haskins. But I think Dwayne Haskins' ceiling is still a lot higher than Daniel Jones. But as we saw last year with the Arizona Cardinals, things change, and they're gonna have a new coach with a new coaching system coming into the offseason. And I have a sneaking suspicion that if you're picking second overall and Dwayne Haskins doesn't play well and doesn't look good, I have a sneaking suspicion that they could move on from him, even just a year removed, and go for a guy like a Tua Tagovailoa or a Justin Herbert. Because I still think, I know Bronson, you said that's a crock of shit and you don't think Joe Burrow is going to be the first quarterback taken, but...
No, I don't think that he's not going to be the first taken. He very well could be, but I just don't like LSU quarterbacks.
I generally don't either, but this is a weird LSU team. And what I mean by that is, like, they just have a different flow to them than previous, like, Les Miles LSU teams. Like, they have this swagger about them that previous LSU teams didn't have. They have a coach who has probably the greatest line I've ever heard. Roll Tide, what? Fuck you. Like, that shit is, like, I want that printed on t-shirts. I will fucking wear that because that shit's amazing to me. Roll Tide, what? Fuck you. But also you got to factor in Joe Burrow is, yes, he's an LSU quarterback, but when he first started his career, he was an Ohio State quarterback. Now, again, we can talk about the validity of Ohio State quarterbacks, all that stuff in terms of, like, their pro potential and things like that. But Joe Burrow's had to learn 3 different systems, I think, in 3 different years, and is mastering this new system that they just put him in for this year. And he just plays with this type of swagger and stuff that you can't teach. It's why I fell in love with Baker Mayfield. Now, obviously, he's not playing great this year, but I think that's because Baker Mayfield's getting in his head too much. But when I watch Joe Burrow, I think I see him as a more calm, collected Baker Mayfield. Like, he still has that fiery attitude, and when you piss him off, you piss him off. But rather than talk shit and tell people to suck his dick and all that shit, he does it on the field. He plays Joe Cool and fucking dominates on the field. However, I don't want him to go to Cincinnati because Cincinnati's a garbage franchise and they're going to completely ruin him. But I think that's what I think. But either way, if you guys have any thoughts about 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 that revelation that I just brought up. I guess it's not really a secret. It's not really a revelation, but I mean, it's a realistic thought.
Wasn't it you last week or the week before that was saying that he could very well be the next Josh Rosen, unfortunately?
Probably. I mean,
I can't remember, but I remember
seeing
seeing
last week.
Yeah. I mean, I hope not, because I mean, I like Dwayne Haskins, and I think I agree with you, and you have to see what you got, because I mean, for all you know, they could bring in another coach. I mean, you don't know with this management and the ownership, they could bring in a coach, and you could easily say Haskins isn't my guy. Give me this guy or give me that guy in the draft, and we're going to build around him.
Right,
like,
and
you never know.
Exactly, and because
I hope he balls out.
I do too. And if that costs us a couple draft spots, I'm okay with that, because I want to see Dwayne Haskins come in there and play with a fire under his ass. And I feel bad for him, because he's had some games where he's just been thrown in there, and you see he wasn't ready. Like, you just see he wasn't ready. And I don't think it wasn't necessarily because I think he's like a bad guy, or he's lazy or anything like that. Like, I don't see Jamarcus Russell out of him. I see a guy who probably they were just like, you're not going to start anytime soon. Like, go jerk off in the corner or whatever. And all of a sudden, Case Keenum gets hurt, and they're like, all right, go play. And he's like, wait, what? And like, yeah, just go play. Go do what you did in college. And because that's how dysfunctional this franchise is at this point. That's how dysfunctional Washington Redskins are. And I hope Jeff Bezos buys this fucking team just to get away from Daniel Snyder. Like, I don't care who buys this team. I just want somebody to buy this team just to get away from Dan Snyder. Just so we can just have an owner who is a fan but stays the fuck out of it. And just like, yep.
You enjoy being at the game, but just be an owner. Just shut up and
right. Don't make coaching decisions.
Yeah.
So, Bronson, any takes?
I agree with you. Definitely see if there's any potential there. There could be potential there, just maybe not on the Redskins. Obviously get rid of Dan Snyder, but that's not really anyone's choice but Dan's.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately.
Please fire Bruce Allen.
Thank you.
Outside of that, no thoughts.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I hope we kind of stay in that second position, and I hope that, and the reason I say that is because I hope that if we stay in the second position, if we don't take a guy like Chase Young, that we can trade with like a Miami and pick up another pick or another couple picks or something like that. So that way we can start building around Dwayne Haskins if that's our end goal. If not, and if Dwayne Haskins is not the guy, I hope he goes to a franchise that will treat him well. And I hope whoever they bring in is ready for the shit show that is the Washington Redskins, because whoo boy, they are not a good franchise. So yay,
yeah.
Hail to the Redskins. So, all right. So that leads us into the Week 11 picks. So before the Week 11 picks, here's how everything shook out for last week. John and myself went 5-8. Bronson, and Bronson went 6-7. So that leads us with I know it was a bad week. So that leads us with.
I don't care about the overall scores. Just move on.
Okay, so whatever.
You got one up on me.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So all right. So we still have the same order as always. John, myself, then Bronson picking. So we start off with tonight's game, the Thursday night game. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Red hot Steelers against a Cleveland team that had a last second win against the Buffalo Bills, which Bronson so correctly predicted last week. So we'll move on from that because we don't want to talk about that stroke his ego anymore. John, go ahead.
Dude, this is going to be like your typical AFC North. Like, it's going to be like 13-6 or 13-9. The Steelers are going to win because they have an amazing defense. And the Browns, they got their win last week, so they have to lose again. I don't know. I'm not sold on this team. The Steelers have a better defense, and I think they're going to terrorize Baker.
Yeah, and I just sent you guys a
I saw
tweet.
I did
Yeah.
think that actually.
All
No,
the
what
talent,
what the
all
hell?
the talent in the world, and he's just a little shithead. So,
Yeah,
I don't feel bad because he got way more chances than he should have, and he showed his maturity last year, and I just think that he was not ready to come out as a junior, but he got kicked out of school. So what are you gonna do? So and we're talking about Antonio Callaway. He got released by the Browns, which again, he's probably as like a prospect, he was probably a first round talent in terms of potential. But because he was off the field issues, because of him just being lazy from what I've seen and what I've saw and everything like that, he deserved to be cut by the Browns. So he'll probably get another shot somewhere else. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the fucking Seahawks signed him. So, and just bring back all the former Browns too.
Yeah.
Fucking
Josh Gordon's like, hey man, I know.
Braylon Edwards, like, all right, guys, like I'm.
Braylon Edwards.
Yeah. So, Pittsburgh's playing great. I still don't believe in Mason Rudolph, but they're still playing great. Minka Fitzpatrick. I know I've talked shit about that. About that.
I believe they're
trade.
gonna go 6-4 though. That's.
I know, but that's give credit where credit's due, man. Mike Tomlin's still a great head coach. So
I have a lot of Steeler fans or friends that are fans that say otherwise for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, they're idiots. So don't believe that. Go.
I don't.
Yeah. So so I'm going Pittsburgh. Bronson.
I'm also going to take Pittsburgh. That defense is stupid good.
Yeah. So and just think about it too, because they have T.J. Watt, they have Devin Bush, and they have Minka Fitzpatrick, all of who are 24 or younger. Like 3 great building blocks on that defense. Yeah, they get a number 1 cornerback too. I know they got Joe Hayden, but if they get a pick up an actual good number 1 corner in the draft or whatever, like that defense is scary. Like that's a terrifying defense. So, Dallas versus Detroit, John.
Man, Dak's been awful on the road in non-divisional games. Is there any word on Stafford though? Like, what's going on with that?
He did not practice today,
so he's probably out. I would say he's out.
Yeah, so now I'll pick the Cowboys.
All right. I unfortunately am also. I'm gonna say, bring the pain. No, it's good.
Cheers.
Yeah, here comes the pain.
Here comes the sadness.
Yeah, but no, I'm going with Dallas on this. Fuck Detroit, especially for hiding such a shit injury. Like we were just talking about how like we felt bad for them, and then they do this shit. Like fuck this team, Bronson.
Yeah, I really want to go bold here and pick the Lions, but I'm just not feeling it. So I'm going to go Cowboys here.
All right. Jacksonville versus Indianapolis.
John. Okay, so what about Jacoby Brissett?
I don't know.
I think he's going to be back.
Are we sure though?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hoyer's last game was last week.
I hope so.
Let's see. We're looking it up
now. I always like Hoyer.
He practiced in full yesterday, so he's good to go.
Yeah.
Sweet. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how Nick Foles is going to be. This is a big test, but I don't trust that. And if Jacoby Brissett's playing at home, I'll pick the Colts.
All right. No T.Y. Hilton. However,
yeah.
So I know they get Devin Funchess back. If he's good to go, then he'll obviously be the number 1. I'm gonna trust my gut here. I'm gonna say it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Nick Foles comes back and he comes back strong. I mean, he looked great for the first couple plays. He just got an unfortunate injury. So, give me Jacksonville. Bronson.
I'm also gonna take Jacksonville, man. Nick Foles went on a Jesus rant today, so he's gonna win.
What? Did you get but I don't know, he didn't get blessed like the Saints did.
Did he pray?
No, but he pretty much was saying, yeah, I don't play this game to play this game. I play this game for Jesus.
I mean, did he pray to the liquid Jesus? Because, that helps when you do that.
Nah, I'm being ignorant to what he exactly said, but
I know.
he definitely went on like a 2-minute rant about Jesus and God, and he doesn't care what anyone thinks, and he does it for himself. And I'm not gonna say any more. But yeah, Jags.
All right. Buffalo versus Miami, John.
Man, I'll take Buffalo. I mean, Miami. It's like, I mean, they could put points on the board. I feel like if they really want to, but I don't know. Just give me the Bills.
I think the Fitz magic runs out this week. Give me the Bills as well. Bronson.
I'm gonna take the Dolphins here. Because Fitz has a way against his previous teams. Whenever he plays his old teams, he plays really good. And I don't like the fact that Buffalo's traveling to Miami. They're gonna be like, "What? It's hot here? What? It's not
What?
cold?
It's actually
Wow.
like
No sleeves here?"
Right. I mean, it's not saying it's like ever gonna be like Buffalo weather, but like here in Tampa, it's gonna be 66 degrees on Sunday, which obviously is not like the fucking 30 degrees that Buffalo's accustomed to, or like what the like right now in Olney it's 37 degrees. So, but yeah, I think I don't think it's gonna bother him that much. So
I'm gonna take Miami here.
all right.
They almost won last time they played, which was like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So this is the one I have to be bold on. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be 76 in Miami.
That's beautiful.
That is nice. So, and I will say this, man, Miami, like I said, you gotta give it up to Brian Flores. He's kept this team in games when obviously the talent level isn't there. So, credit where credit's due. They've been hot. I just think that, like I said, I think Buffalo, I think they come back hard and strong. Buffalo needs a fucking 6'4" wide receiver in like the worst way. Like, I know they tried to do what they did with Pat Mahomes there. They tried to get him the small, tiny wide receivers. But the difference is that Pat Mahomes is accurate with his ball placement. He can have tiny wide receivers and fit the balls in tiny spaces. Josh Allen has the big arm, doesn't have the accuracy. You need to give him a bigger target. So, Denver versus Minnesota.
Yeah, give me Minnesota at home.
Also give me Minnesota at home. Drew Lock is not playing, right? Or is it still that other guy that I can't remember his name and don't really give a shit?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think Drew Lock started. I haven't heard anything about that, at least.
Let's see here. Broncos QB. Brandon Allen sharing snaps with starters as of 5 hours ago. So it's probably still going to be Brandon Allen for this week, and then Drew Lock probably next week, depending on how everything shakes out. But still give me Minnesota. I don't think. I think Denver's in for still a rough season. So, Bronson.
Yeah, I gotta take Minnesota as much as I would love to see them lose this fucking game.
Yeah.
So, all right, New Orleans coming off a tough loss last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. John.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking, but I'm sure that's going to wake them up. Usually these games are really fun to watch. New Orleans versus Tampa, no matter how bad Tampa is.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I think this could be high scoring. I mean, but you never know with Jameis. So, but I'll still pick the Saints. I mean, there's no way they're going to lose back to back against the two worst teams in that division.
Remember what I said. Jameis likes to play hero ball at home.
He does, but I said that, what was it, last week?
They were the only reason they won that game last week was because Kyler Murray had a rookie moment where he tried to make a play where he should have just thrown the ball away. Instead, they were in perfect range for a field goal. They could have killed more time. There was no reason to throw that pass. I just think he was trying to make a play where he shouldn't have made a play. And then, of course, they still don't have good cornerbacks. So Chris Godwin got open and then all that stuff. That's the only reason they won. Otherwise, Jameis Winston fucking sucks. He sucks. He sucks at home. Give me the Saints. Bronson.
I'm curious to see what's going on with the Saints. Is this something that continues with Breeze being out so long? But it's hard to bet against them, so I'm going to have to take the Saints here.
It's just weird because his first game back, he played great. And then last week, it was just like, what?
Well, again, I just think that I know Atlanta's had a
Draft
terrible
game.
record, but
Kamara's pretty banged up still, too. I mean,
yeah.
And Latavius Murray only got, I think 5 touches or something like that. I mean, obviously you want to give Kamara the ball, but I mean, if those guys are banged up, I don't know.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Atlanta's too talented of a team to just forgo a victory like that. So I think they played a great game. You could definitely see last week why the Falcons are why it's so shocking the Falcons are 2-7 this year, because they are a super talented team. But yeah, I think New Orleans rights the ship this week, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun game because they're like what John said. They're always fun. They're always super high scoring and nail biters for some reason. I don't get why, but it's amazing to watch. So
that's the divisional game to usually watch. You would think it'd be Carolina in New Orleans, but for some reason that's the game to watch for some reason.
All right. So, all right, Jets versus Redskins in the battle of the teams that not only suck, but the teams that have shitty medical staff. John.
Yeah. The big test is going to be, so I actually didn't know this until this just popped up when I was looking at, but the Redskins haven't scored a touchdown 3 straight games. I'm looking to Dwayne Haskins to change that. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he'll have a crazy game, but I think he'll have a solid game, and he'll get that first start win. I think, in my opinion. So I'll go with the Redskins. At the Jets.
It pains me to say this because my ex-girlfriend is a Jets fan, and I hate this. No, seriously, I hate the Jets. I hate the fact that they have to play against my team this year because their team's shit, and I want them to always stomp them in the ground. But I think that Darnold is going to play another solid game, and we just suck all around. So give me the Jets. Bronson.
I am also going to take the Jets only because John took the Redskins, and that's who I was going to pick. So, yeah.
I want to see Dwayne Haskins do really well. I just think that the Jets, like I said, it's just fate that
if
Jets...
Jamal Adams comes in big dick swinging because he's angry post trade, then yeah, it's game over. It's going to be the Jets.
Yeah. So they haven't scored a touchdown since Miami.
You guys saw the play where he just took the ball away from Daniel Jones.
Yeah, he just straight up
it was mine.
Ah!
Yeah. Just straight up snatched it out of his hands. Didn't tackle him. Just walked up to him. Was hey. Took it and then ran. What?
Yeah, he schoolyard bullied him. Was give me this shit, bitch.
Oh, that was so. I couldn't believe that happened.
Yeah.
It's
So
one of the wildest things.
Rip that shit out.
By the way, speaking of the Giants, really quick, I don't think Pat Shurmur is gonna. I think he gets fired at the end of the season. Whoever they bring in for New York, they have to curtail that fucking fumbling problem that Daniel Jones has, because it's not the interceptions that are gonna kill that team; it's the constant fumbles, and they need to fucking figure out a way to make him stop fumbling, because that shit will get annoying really quick. So, rooting for him. Like I said, I know I talked a lot of shit about him, but I am rooting for him to do good. It's just he needs to stop with the fucking fumbles, man.
He needs to stop sucking.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. All right. Atlanta versus Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta, they, like I said, I mean, no disrespect, but that was their Super Bowl. They usually always want to win, in New Orleans, that, no matter what, if they're good, that year are bad. But I don't see them getting back-to-back wins against the two better teams in the division. But if they do, that would be pretty crazy. But I'm picking the Panthers.
Yeah, give me Carolina as well. I briefly thought about taking Atlanta as Bronson's. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm getting ready to make dinner, fuckboy.
Gotta prep the food, season the shit.
Yeah, he's got to season his Rocky Mountain oysters and shit. Gotta do what he's gotta do. So, anyways, I got Carolina because, I think that they obviously the Saints.
What do you mean, my Bronson shit? How did I affect your pick?
Because you're being loud. You're affecting the podcast in sound quality.
No, you said you were going to take the Falcons and then Bronson, and you didn't finish what you were saying.
Because, okay, I was going to take the Falcons until I realized that last week the Saints did not have Kamara, and like what John said, Latavius Murray only got 5 carries. They're going up against Christian McCaffrey, who is a lot better than whoever the Saints' third stringers are, and I still think that. What?
You
said checks out, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Check this out, and then.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna do like a kickflip or whatever on the video. Like I was like, what? Like what the fuck's going on here? But yes, give me Carolina. Bronson. Is he peeing? Are you peeing again?
Yeah, How did you miss that? I literally was peeing mute.
I turned the volume up a little just to verify.
I'm taking Carolina. I think this is where Mr. Allen proves that Cam is out the door. I think they would not be. What the fuck was that? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, that was your PlayStation.
Oh, it was Alexa.
Oh.
Crazy bitch.
I told you to shut up and stop listening to me.
I just think this is the beginning of the end of the Cam Newton era, not going to Chicago. But yeah, I think Panthers win this.
All right. Houston versus Baltimore. The one of the games of the week, I think, this week. So, huge game. John.
First of all, I know no one that is going to have an encounter with me on Sunday at work is listening right now. But I swear to God, if anyone comes up to me this Sunday and tells me to change the game from the Ravens game to the fucking Redskins game, you're in for a real reality check. But anyways,
John's at that point where he's just like, "Fuck you, I don't care." Like,
I don't care. Who wants to watch the Redskins Jets game? I mean, come on, let's be realistic. Like,
exactly.
Anyway, I mean, outside of Haskins, but anyways, moving on. This is going to be an exciting game. I mean, Deshaun Watson's having an MVP-like season 2. Lamar Jackson has been playing, out of this world the last couple weeks. And at home, I love the schedule, how it pans out down the stretch. I know we talked about it forever ago. They have a home game, then they're on the road, then they come back home. And it's like this for the remainder of the season. And I love them at home. I mean, this will be a tight game. I mean, I don't have any reason to bet against the Ravens. I mean, the Texans are an amazing team. But, I mean, if Lamar Jackson just plays like how he has been and the defense just has even an average game, I like their chances, so I'll pick the Ravens.
What's important about this game is not necessarily, obviously it's a big game because it's against a really good team in the Houston Texans, but what you have to fear, John, is the fact that those goddamn Steelers are so fucking close to,
I know, yeah, it's like they're literally going to go 6-4 after tonight, so they have to keep winning.
Right, so, and it's just typical bullshit, because if they lose this game against the Texans, they go to 7-3, and all of a sudden that big game, that big division gap you had, all of a sudden it's down to one game. So
they have to travel to LA Monday night.
Exactly. So this is a big game that you guys have to win. I think they get it done. I'm still not sold per se on Houston. I think they're still up and down. Whereas Baltimore's just firing on all cylinders. This could be a trap game though. This could be a game where the Houston Texans come and
they have whooped the Ravens before, but it was when they were at home. That's why I like the Ravens in this matchup.
Right. So, but I will take Baltimore for this matchup. Bronson.
This is gonna be a very close game. It's gonna be tricky, but I will say this: whenever Deshaun goes up against a quarterback that was either drafted with him or after him, like after him, or not years, a year after him, 2 years after him, he has beaten every single one of them. He is 7-0 against any rookie quarterback or new quarterback in the NFL. He's never lost, which is kind of crazy to me. He's beaten Mahomes. He's beaten all of them. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm just going to have to take the Texans here on this one, just because I like that stat a lot.
The one thing
it's like
I
he
will
rises to the challenge.
Yeah, the one thing I will fear, and I hope that, and I'm confident with Wink Martindale, is the pass rush needs to get going. I mean, Judon's doing great. He's doing the best he can. I mean, they're relying a lot on Jalen Ferguson, who's a rookie. But I mean, there's every now and then they throw in Peanut and Onwitzer in there, and he gets a quick stack. So I hope they need to keep the pressure up because Deshaun Watson's deadly when he can extend the play.
Exactly. So, all right, moving on. Arizona versus San Francisco. John.
I love the white noise.
Holy shit!
I love the white noise.
Oh my god! It sounds like a fucking blizzard just came over this podcast.
It helps me relax.
Wait, what was that?
Whatever you were doing was causing a lot of like white noise and like it sounded like a goddamn blizzard hit this podcast.
What? I didn't do anything. I poured water.
I swear to God, I will I will isolate the clip and send it to you. It's fucking hilarious.
Someone in the chat, please clip that.
Exactly. All right, John.
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals. I feel like long term, maybe like next season, I think they can make strides. They're not a bad team. They still have some work to do. Obviously, Kyler's. I think he's playing pretty solid and adjusting pretty quickly to this offense, especially for how young he is. But, I mean, this is the 49ers. They're at home. Nick Bosa, I feel like he's going to, have a fun day. And they're going to win by at least 3 scores, I'll say.
All right. So I've got San Francisco as well. I'm not going to say they win by 3 scores, but I do think that that San Francisco is just going to dominate this game. Kyler Murray, despite his best efforts, will probably get sacked a bunch because Arizona's offense is still fresh and their offensive line's not good. So give me San Francisco, Bronson.
I'm going to also take San Francisco. As much as I would love to go Arizona, especially if their receiving core is banged up, but I just think Kyle Shanahan's just such a goddamn good game planner.
Yeah, he's such a good coach. Like, would you say he's in the top 5 of coaching right now, or would you say he's still, like obviously Belichick's number 1. Like, Belichick's is default number 1.
I'd put him up there with innovators, yeah. I mean, what he's done with the receiving core that he's had for the last 2 seasons is just insane to me, and his running backs, his run scheming is insane. So
yeah, all right. Cincinnati versus Oakland. Can we all just go Oakland for this?
Yeah, just yuck.
Yeah, I don't see Cincinnati winning a game this year. They might win one, like a surprise, like upset against the Browns. But yeah, Cincinnati's.
Hey, can I just say something real quick that I thought that was hilarious?
What's that?
Speaking of the Bengals, so when they had the extra week to prepare for Lamar Jackson, they had Andy Dalton practice to try to be Lamar Jackson in practice.
And that's why that team, or that's why that fucking franchise is just so dysfunctional. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna have somebody replicate fucking Lamar Jackson, you got to get running quarterback, not like a we got the best available, which is we got Andy Dalton, because Andy Dalton's we're still paying him a bunch of money. Fuck you, go suck a big fat dick. Fuck this team. So yeah, Bronson, Oakland, right?
Yep.
All right, New England versus Philadelphia, a rematch of Super Bowl 52. John.
These are usually pretty fun games to watch. I know they don't play each other very often, but usually whenever they do, they're pretty fun. But I think New England gets back on. I mean, they had the extra bye week after that loss. So I'll take New England.
Yeah, give me New England as well. Philadelphia is just a little too inconsistent for me. They're a good team when they're hot, they're hot. When they're cold, they're cold. They're just too inconsistent for me. And I think especially New England coming off a loss and coming off a bye week where they can adjust some things and everything like that. Give me New England. Bronson?
Yeah, I am gonna go big or go home here. I'm gonna take the Eagles.
Jesus Christ.
Hey.
I think their backs are against the wall. I think Carson, in the back of his mind, really wanted to play this game. And I think they have to win if they want to contend with Dallas. If they gotta creep up there and they gotta start winning games now. They can't afford to lose this one.
I mean, the one thing that I saw is that the 4 of the last 5 matchups are decided by 1 possession. So I mean, this could easily go in their favor.
Yeah. Like I said, when Philadelphia's hot, they're hot. But I think they're going to be another cold week this week where cuz they won last week if I'm not mistaken, right? Or hold on, let me see. I have the week.
They were on a
10.
bye.
They were on a bye.
Yeah, that's right. They were on a bye. And
did
won
they
the week before, I think.
Yeah. So again, I think that they're just too hot and cold for me. So, but I could easily also see Philadelphia winning this game by like a large margin. So it's hit or miss.
Right.
All right. The Sunday Night Football game. It is the Chicago Bears versus the LA Rams in Los Angeles. John.
It's really, last week I would have easily said the Rams. I mean, but now they're very inconsistent. I mean, especially the offense, and now they have to get
it's gonna be a battle of who's gonna be 5-5.
Yeah, and I mean, if Jared Goff isn't going to perform, I mean, you still have to compete with the Bears' defense. That's
both teams are fighting for their playoff dreams right now. This will be the game.
Yeah,
whoever wins this game, I feel like is gonna fight for a playoff spot. Whoever loses this game probably won't.
The Rams are struggling, obviously. I mean, it was after being in the Super Bowl last year, but I mean. I don't know. I feel like they'll find a way to win this game. It's not going to be pretty, but I feel like they'll find a way to win.
You know what? Since Bronson's been all bold and shit this week, and
you're feeling high and mighty.
Feeling high and mighty. I want to be bold as well. Fuck it, man. Give me Chicago. Like, I don't know. I know that they've been playing slow and that it's just been weird and inconsistent. I have a feeling for some reason though that Trubisky's gonna throw like 6 touchdowns this week. I don't know why. You can't tell me why. Like it's just this feeling that he's gonna go in there and like be like, "Hey guys, look, I'm a good quarterback still." And then like next week he's gonna shit the bed. But like this week he's gonna right. He's gonna throw dimes across over the top of Jalen Ramsey, making everybody question why Jalen Ramsey's a top cornerback. Like it's gonna be a weird fucking game. But yeah, give me
Marcus Peters back.
Yeah, exactly. Give me Chicago though. Bronson.
God, it seems like I always no shit because I've been in these last several weeks, but I am gonna
I make valid points. Just say it.
Yeah. I'm gonna fucking so like. Okay, before the season started, I was like, oh yeah, this is the game. The Rams get to have revenge against us, etc., etc. But I also peg them as like the hangover team. So I want to stick to that. I want to believe in Mitch, but yeah, I've given up on that. So
how's your wallet?
I am gonna say it's gonna be another like. I think it's just gonna be a shit. I think this game is gonna replicate last year's game. It's just gonna be an offensive, piss poor performance. I think I would love to see Mitch throw 6 touchdowns. Don't get me wrong, but I just am struggling to see that. I could see probably 3 touchdowns, but I just have a feeling in my gut that this game's going to be low scoring. But I'm going to take the Bears here. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna
do it. Just do it. Just do it. All right, and finally, it is the Monday Night Football game. It's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Chargers in Mexico.
Or will it? I mean, this happened last year, and then they had to cancel it last second.
Right.
But I mean,
no
if they would have canceled it, it would have been by now. But
well, hopefully the Chargers get more fans in Mexico.
I'm sure they will. Then they're gonna have to play there every. That should be their hometown.
You know what? They'll just be the Mexican Chargers, like the Mexico Chargers.
Mexican Chargers.
Wear the luchador masks.
Instead of helmets, they'll just wear luchador masks. Like, fuck it.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I can see it.
I can see it.
I could, yeah.
Luchador masks with sombreros, like some fucking like. Can we get a helmet that's a sombrero? Like, is that possible?
And Philip Rivers like, well, I guess I moved the whole family to Mexico.
Yeah, Viva la Mexico Chargers.
Anyways, the weird thing about this game is that if the Chargers win this game, the Raiders are usually winning this game. So then all of a sudden you have the Chiefs and the Raiders tied, and the Chargers are right behind them. So. This has a lot of, implications, for that division. I feel like the Chiefs know they obviously have to win. They have the Raiders breathing down their neck all of a sudden. And they need divisional wins. That's what's it could be the deciding factor. Who knows going down the road. So, it's hard to bet against Mahomes. They had a little fluke loss last week. They'll get back on the win column in Mexico.
Yeah, give me Kansas City as well. Again, they got robbed off of a clear fucking offsides penalty that shouldn't have been called. They didn't call. That should have gone for another kick. And like I said, they just got robbed. And Pat Mahomes looked great last week. I think with another week of healing and everything like that, that ball is gonna be spinning in Mexico like spin the bottle of tequila. And whoo boy. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs. Bronson.
Yeah, I'm going to probably have to take the Chiefs here as well, man. For show.
All right, and that about does it for this week's podcast. We have the Week 11 picks. They are in. They are locked. I'm going to make sure I take a picture of this before I forget. So, Johan, go ahead and pick your shit out.
Alrighty, so you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Mixer at Necromancer and 3KROMANCER.
All right, and Bronson, go ahead.
You can find me on the Instas at Chefman Bronson or on the Twitters at Bronson IOUS. And you can find our Pass Interference Insta at Pass Interference Podcast.
Which we still need to find like a graphic designer to make a graphic, because I don't mind doing it. Realistically, it's not that hard, and I could probably do it at work because it's not that hard. It's just I don't know how to do the actual stuff or whatever. So, but yeah, we need to work on that. We need to find some graphic designers or something. Bronson, you meet some interesting people. Let me know if you know anybody. So,
you only see Ed Reed,
Yeah, what we don't know is that's why he wanted to do this podcast early. He wants to eat dinner because he's gonna go hang out with Ed Reed tonight. They became best friends at that party.
Yeah, he's my personal DJ now. We're best friends. Fuck you, John. It's like,
All right, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Twitch at OG Liquid Jesus, where I stream some video games. I've been playing a shitload of Modern Warfare, which is still a lot of fun. Loving the shit out of that game. But yeah, that about does it for this awesome podcast. Thank you all so very much. Go like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you gotta do. Let us know that you're listening out there. And have a good one. Epstein didn't kill himself.